tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kumachinja tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kualliance tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kualliance tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kudzwai mambo tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. MDC tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kudzwai mambo, kudzwai mambo we. Kudzwai mambo we. Vachamisa tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Nachamisa tinofamba nomweya mutsvene mweya wakanaka. Kudzwai mambo, kudzwai mambo, kudzwai mambo, kudzwai mambo.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, viewers from all over the world. We welcome you to our news review, where we look at the topics that made the headlines over the past week. Today, we are joined by several guests and our usual host and co-hosts, Leader Barbara, Leader Estella. We also have Leader Nyondeni, who will be joining us for a short interview on voter registration. There we had a clip on the World Environment Day celebrations and commemorations that were held in Domboshava, which we will also talk about during the program. My name is Sophia Tekwani, and I will be with you during today's program of News Review. Can I ask the other leaders to please introduce themselves to the audience?
Thank you so much, Leader Sophia. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Zimbabwe, from wherever you are. Makadini maswera sei, mamuka sei muri yeZimbabwe, kumativi mana ese enyika, lingave lichiona njani mthwakazi omuhle magumbini amane wonke omhlaba. Yebo, sesiphendukile njalo kuChange Radio leZim-I lapha sililethela khona i-news review, lapho sikhangela indaba zonke ebezikhona iviki yonke le, sizabe sizikhangela sizicubungula. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Leader Barbara. Leader Estella.
Oh, yes, thank you, Leader Sophia. Blessed day to you all, Change Radio listeners and Zim-I viewers, and to our viewers also on our Change Radio Facebook page. We welcome you to this edition of News Review. We have a very interesting lineup of stories to review with you. We hope you enjoy it. Back to you, Leader Sophie.
Thank you so much, Leader Estella. We'll go straight into it, and the topics we'll be discussing today. We'll be talking about last Maengehama and Tungamirai Madzokere, and the press conference that was held They are the MDC Alliance activists who were unfortunately incarcerated for a crime they never committed and spent 10 years in jail. They were released in the last week, and a press conference was held in which they expressed and they were talking about what they went through. We'll also be talking about the European Union expressing concern over the curtailed democratic space in Zimbabwe. We'll be speaking about the National Youth Service, the training camps that are being set up, and also the threats that are already being made on citizens with regards to the National Youth Service trainings that is being started. We'll be talking about the Wange mining disaster and remembering the 472 miners that lost their lives when the Wange mine number 2 exploded. We will be talking about the MDC Alliance voter registration and recruitment campaigns. We'll also be talking about the Chitungwiza and Harare demolitions and the harassment of vendors. We'll also be talking about the former Marange mine villagers who were duped by government and the mining companies. They have not fulfilled their promises that they made when they were relocating the villagers from the diamond-rich areas. We'll also be looking at the COVID-19 numbers that are rising and also talking about the vaccines running out and the lockdown measures and the fiasco that is going on amidst the lockdown measures. We'll be talking about the 1 million students that have dropped out of school due to the COVID-19 induced poverty, which will also be made worse by the demolitions. We'll also look at the air traffic control system in Zimbabwe that requires urgent attention. It is currently unserviceable. And finally, we'll be looking at a Ministry of Education pension payslip that is doing the rounds on social media. Chief Shoshe would like to welcome you to the program. You're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
What's going on here? Unmute.
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you, Leader Sophia. It's good to be back. You know, after such a long time, it's good to be back as Zimbabweans. Thank you so much for the patience and everything. We're sorting things out. Now we are okay. The chief is back. Padare, na Chief Shoshe will be back next week. You know, so thank you, Leader Sophia, for stepping in and doing the program so well. I was enjoying, honestly, watching you guys and watching you presenting this program. You've become a pro. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Chief. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we'll just go straight into it. We will ask maybe for starters, Leader Barbara, if you're with us, can you take us through the World Environment Day celebrations that were held in Domoshawa?
Okay. Thank you so much, Leader Sophia. Yes, the Assembly of Women commemorated the International Environmental Day on the 5th of June in Domboshawa. That was the launch. They are going to have several commemorations around in each province on the 5th of July. So when they went to Domboshawa, the reason why they went to Domboshawa, it was also a way of conscientizing people to register to vote. Remember, we are targeting rural constituencies, rural wards, rural districts. So we are in the rural areas. So they were in Domboshawa, and the turnout was very good. The program was solely to sweep the area, and as we all know that the issues of environment are issues of concern. You know, the issues of the green environment. We as an alternative government, we are for the green environment. We are aware of how the people are destroying the environment. So the sweeping or maybe the cleaning of the area was the beginning. We are yet to have other activities or like tree planting or maybe
Mm-hmm.
cleaning the rivers, the river sides, or even the
Mm-hmm.
rivers. We know people throw a litter in rivers, destroying the eco system. So we are going to have a lot of activities as the Assembly of Women. So
Mm-hmm.
the event was graced by the chairperson of the Women's Assembly, Honorable Machirai Rwamugido, and the secretary, Monica Mukwada, and there were also the members of the National Executive. So it was a event to remember, honestly, because the women had, for the first time after COVID, they were meeting for the first time. So you can imagine the jovial mood that was there, you know.
Excitement,
Yeah,
yes.
yes. So it was a successful event anyway. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you, Leader Barbara. Thank you so much for that. But just one question about the World Environment Day commemorations. How did we as the MDC Alliance Assembly of Women get involved? And also, very impressively, to be leading the program.
Uh, Come again. What what do you what do you mean by that,
Okay.
leadership?
It was reporting in the news that the MDC Alliance Assembly of Women was leading the program.
Yes.
It's commemoration that is done all over the world. So interestingly enough, just want to find out, or just to inform the viewers and listeners, how the MDC Alliance Assembly of Women got to be involved in the leadership role in these commemorations.
Oh, okay. It's a party program, but our party is not selfish. Eh? You know,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
to share responsibilities. We have they believe in gender equality. They believe
Mm,
in molding leaders. So it was given to the women, to the assembly of women to lead, but also our the leadership of the men was there. In Dombosha there was Honorable Timba, and Farai was also there. So
mhm,
Honorable Timba went there representing the MDC leadership. So we are going to
mhm,
see these leaders all over when this second program kicks on, like I said before, on the 5th of July. The whole
mm,
country, people will be
mm,
sweeping, will be
mm.
doing different activities. Some will be planting trees, some will be cleaning rivers, some will be there will be a lot of activities
Activities,
concerning the environment. Yes.
environment. No, thank you so much for that, Leader Barbara. Leader Estella, could you take us through the National Youth Service training camps that are being set up, especially with reference to the Bindura case where citizens are being threatened by former and aspiring National Youth Training Services cadets?
Yes, thank you, Leader Sophie. Yes, that's one of the stories that we ran in our news bulletin during this last week about the National Youth Services camps being set up in some areas of the country, presumably in preparation for the typical ZANU PF terror that they rain on the citizens of Zimbabwe as we approach the elections, most likely to instill fear in people, as has been evidenced by the threats that have been issued against members of the Bindura area. They have been warned that if they do not align with ZANU-PF, they will be subjected to certain forms of terror. And knowing ZANU-PF by its history, those are not threats to be taken lightly. They are likely going to follow through with those threats. So I'm very concerned about the citizens of that area in Bindura. Question then falls to them: what should they do? Should they just align with ZANU-PF for the sake of their safety, themselves and their families and their property, or should they stand their ground and uh, and face whatever ZANU-PF brings their way? It's a very difficult situation. I don't know what I would do if I was faced with that situation, but one thing that I would advise anyone who is in that situation is to really, really put your trust in God, because He's the only one who can protect us when you are being threatened by your own government, whose responsibility is to protect you. When they become the enemy and they are the ones who are threatening, the only one who can protect you then is a higher power, and the only higher power who is present and ever present in any situation of need is God. And I will attest from personal experience, I have faced mountains, things that I was too small to face, but God, one way or another, He just pulled me through. And I think a lot of people in Zimbabwe can give the same testimony. They have been through. Ah, in the last few years, Zimbabweans have been through hell. There have been attacks by ZANU-PF. There's been the COVID. There have been droughts. There have been what are they called? Hurricanes, cyclones, and and it is only God who has taken them through. I hope everyone can recognize that as a simple normal human being, you cannot go through all of that and come out unscathed and alive. So many lives have been lost during these last few years, and so I would just encourage everybody to really, 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 really put your trust in God during these times. He's the only one really who can take us through during these times. Yeah, back to you, Leader Sophie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Leader Estella. Chief Sose, I don't know if you can hear me, if you're with us. Can I ask you to brief us and to take us through last Maengehama and Tungamirai Madzokeres from the incarceration to them attaining their liberty this last week and the press conference that was held following their release?
Yes, I think this is something that happened. Oh my goodness, there's some feedback there. I don't know what's going on. Let me. Anyway, it was a moment of joy for the MDC family and for all Zimbabweans in general. Yes, we were celebrating that our two leaders were out, but we also did that in hindsight, that these people were not supposed to be in jail in the first place. They were not supposed to have spent 8 years in hell, because jails in Zimbabwe, as we've known them, they are hell. These people were innocent. Yes, we celebrated, but there was really nothing to celebrate, because these people were not supposed to be in jail in the first place. They never committed that crime. It was clear to everyone. The other person, Tunga, was not even there when this happened. So, it was a very disturbing part in our history as Zimbabweans, that we have two people that are arrested when they did not do anything, when they did not commit any crime, when there was no shred of evidence whatsoever, being incarcerated for that long. So as we celebrate, like President Chamisa said, let's look forward to fighting against the system so that these two are compensated for what they went through. It was not easy for them. It was not easy for their families. You know, it was not easy for us as a MDC Alliance party and family to have those two incarcerated for that long. So we want to see justice being done. We want to see these two being compensated adequately for what they went through, because this cannot be carried on. We cannot watch, we cannot allow ZANU-PF to continue manipulating the courts and arresting people willy-nilly who are not or who would not have committed any crime. I think it's high time we start suing the government, immediately after things like this would have happened. But we are grateful that they are out, and we are also grateful that they came out stronger than they were. ZANU-PF was thinking that we have another Yvonne case, where those people would denounce President Chamisa, would denounce the MDC Alliance, but we all saw how determined they still are to fighting on the side of the people. And I think that should tell ZANU-PF that what they are trying to do, arresting people arbitrarily, is not breaking people at all. It's actually hardening people. It's actually strengthening the resolve of the people to see this struggle to its logical conclusion. And its logical conclusion is to see President Chamisa in office in 2023 or before. But we want to thank our heroes for coming back more determined and for remaining steadfast, behind the People's Project, behind the People's President, and behind the People's Party.
Absolutely, thank you so much, Chief. That is quite true and to the point, as you put it. That a lot of people, we have even a lot of prisoners who are not political, who are in jail and serving time for crimes they did not commit. And this all boils down to the justice system that we have incompetent magistrates, we have incompetent judges who are placed there maybe through nepotism, but they are incompetent. And how does that match? How does that fall into its place, Chief? If you can take us through that, with the EU expressing concern over the curtailed democratic space in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we have been telling, the people, telling ZANU-PF that we do have a crisis in Zimbabwe. We have a crisis everywhere. We have a crisis of infrastructure. We have a crisis of governance. We have a crisis in our legislature. We have a crisis in our justice system. And the EU just confirmed what we've been saying all along. But on the other side, to me, I'm seeing here a new wave, of the way things are going to shape up as we go towards 2023. We know the MDC Alliance lodged at the CCC, Citizens Converging for Change, where we are calling on all the parties in Zimbabwe, civic society, labor, students, church, vendors, ordinary Zimbabweans, those in the diaspora and those in Zimbabwe, to come together and fight this system. You can see that people are already responding. People might not see it, but this is another way. The judges, our magistrates, they are part of Zimbabweans. They are part of the Zimbabwean community. They are a part of those people that are being called upon by President Chamisa to come together and fight for what is right. And I'm thinking this is just the beginning of what we can see in the next year or two as we go to 2023. People are speaking up. People are standing up for what they believe in, and they are not taking anything that ZANU-PF is trying to push them to do. The judges are defying Emmerson Mnangagwa. The magistrates are defying Emmerson Mnangagwa. We have seen a lot happening in our justice system of late. That gives hope that there is something going on. So it's a convergence on its own that we are seeing right now, or the results of that strategy of getting all Zimbabweans together, to stand against the government and make sure that Emmerson Mnangagwa is removed from power, because that's the reason why we are here as opposition. We want to remove ZANU-PF. They may call it illegal, but we want to remove ZANU-PF. We want to remove Emmerson Mnangagwa, and I'm glad that Zimbabweans from all walks of life are coming together. And we want to thank the judges that were so brave to defy ZANU-PF, to defy Emmerson Mnangagwa. We saw the same thing happening with Luke Malala. The judges are standing for the truth. The judges are deciding finally to stand with the Constitution, which is the most important piece of paper in Zimbabwe, and that's what we want. Let's stand with the Constitution. Let's stand with the people of Zimbabwe. Let's stand with what is right. So if we continue along this trajectory, I can tell you there's so much to hope for as we go towards 2023.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chief, for that. As we go towards 2023, like you mentioned, Leader Barbara, can you take us through the MDC Alliance voter registration exercise and programs that were going on with the recruitment campaigns? I know in Bulawayo we had Vice President Walshman Ngube. We also had Vice President Lynette Karenyi-Kore in the Eastern Islands, and a lot more door-to-door campaigns and recruitment exercises. Can you take us through that, please, Leader Barbara? Leader Barbara? I think maybe there's a network problem.
Let me
there might
jump
be
in
a
there.
network problem.
Thank you, Leader Sophia. As we have seen everywhere, the MDC Alliance is embarked on a big and long trajectory to register at least 6 million people by the time we get to 2023. I know people are taking data with very mixed views. That why are we bothering people to go and register when the elections will be rigged anyway? Registering to vote, calling people to register to vote is actually one way of making sure that it is difficult for ZANU-PF to rig elections. We have about 10.5 million Zimbabweans that are eligible to vote. There were 9.8, if my numbers are right, in 2018. Now they've increased because some have turned 18 now. The voting population is jumped to 10 million. In 2018, only we managed to register about 5 million people, and we managed to register 6 million people, and about 5 million ended up voting. But if we can increase that number to 7 or 8 million out of the 10 million that are eligible to vote, if we can increase that number to that magnitude, or say 7 million or 8 million, we are actually making it difficult for ZANU-PF to rig elections. ZANU-PF does not want many people to register. And that's why you see that even though ZEC has a mandate to educate voters to go and register to vote, they don't do that. ZANU-PF ZEC deliberately doesn't educate people to go and vote. They have a budget, a very big budget for voter education, but they don't do that. You will see that they will throw in about 2 or 3 adverts towards 2023 so that they can tell the international community that they are educating people or encouraging people to go and vote. But they don't do that because they don't want as many people to register and vote, because they know that the majority in Zimbabwe all support the MDC Alliance. And that's the same reason why they also do not want the diaspora vote, because they know that the more than 4.5 million Zimbabweans that are in the diaspora, they support the opposition. So they will do everything that is possible with them to ensure that as many people do not register to vote. So that's a way we are doing, one of the many ways that we are doing to ensure that we win 2023. We must register people, we must ensure that we have registered more people than we did in 2018. And it begins right now. We are not going to wait until 2023. We're not going to wait until the day before elections or a few months before elections to start getting people to go and register. We are starting now. And the good thing, Leader Sophia, about what is going on right now is it's not only the MDC Alliance. The civic society is heavily involved. The independents, have seen the likes of Hopo Chingono, and Amatai Kwekweza, and all Zimbabweans, they are geared. They're trying to do everything possible to ensure that every Zimbabwean who is eligible to vote goes to register. And that's what we should do. And us as people in the diaspora, speaking about the people in the diaspora, we have a role to play. We might not be voters. We might not be, some of you, of course, myself, I'm a voter. I go and vote. I'm already registered. I checked my name. Yeah, it's there. But if you can't go and register in Zimbabwe, or if you can't go and vote, you still have a big role to play. We'll be starting a campaign soon where we are encouraging diasporans to make sure that they sponsor their villages or their constituencies or their relatives, friends and relatives to go and register. People do not go to register. One of the reasons is they do not have that $1 or that $2 that they need to jump in a bus to go to the nearest registration center. They don't have that. They can't afford to part with that $1. They might have it, but they can't afford to part with that $2 because of the level of poverty that we have in Zimbabwe. So if we here in the diaspora can provide that $2, that $5 for our friends and relatives, or even a whole village. I sponsored a whole village to go and register to vote. So we can all do that right now. You can do something, even if you can't go and vote or register, you can make other people register to vote. But I want to thank our Youth Assembly. They've started the 1 million campaign where they want to get 1 million young people. These are just young people. And I will be looking at the Women Assembly to do another 2 million, the main wing to do another 2 million, and then all the other Zimbabweans to come in and have at least 6 million registered voters. One thing that I've discussed and talked about, with leaders like Ostalos and the Women Assembly, is that we need to be scientific in our approach. We need to make sure that we are writing down the names of those people. We are putting them down. We are coming up with the names, with the phone numbers of those people that we are registering. We just don't want to gather people around and put pictures on social media, put pictures in WhatsApp groups that we're in Chirezi, we're in Wedza, but there is no scientific evidence of what we are doing. So we have discussed that at length, and we are beginning to see, a database coming up, people being registered. We have seen what ZANU-PF is doing. I think you have seen it. They will publish a fake story saying that only 6 people have registered in Matabeleland and only 3 people have registered in Mashingo. They're trying to discourage people. They're trying to misinform the public that the efforts of the MDC are not being regarded, are not being taken well by Zimbabweans. That's not true. There are many people that are registering. Yesterday, we were in a meeting with Honorable Wende. At least 72%, that's what he reported, 72% of the people in Kwazana have all gone to register to vote. And these are people that had not registered, because if you registered in 2018, you don't have to register now. But Honorable Wende has already recorded 72% success rate. But when you see in the Herald, when you see in ZBC, they report otherwise. Those are lies. People are registering to vote. So do not be discouraged. Let's keep on keeping on. Let's get people to register. Let's talk to our friends and relatives. Let's talk to our villages. Let's talk to our leaders in our constituencies where we come from and help them, assist them so that they go and register to vote.
Absolutely, Chief. Thank you very much. Voter registration is gaining momentum, and thank you very much for that. We have Clem Makuchu, who has made a comment and saying, that's very true, Chief. It is very true. Voter registration is gathering momentum. Isaac Piri says, engage them, ZEC. They must be forced to do the right thing. Right, exactly. Moving on, we have also Ishmael Bondo from Tanzania. Welcome, Ishmael. He's watching from Tanzania. We welcome you to the program. And Musana Ngurumbaiwa, who is saying they are not issuing out IDs and passports. Like rightly pointed out by Chief Soshe, that the government, they would try by all means, all dirty tricks and moves, just to ensure that people are not going to vote or do not register to vote. That's something coming to the forefront, that they are not issuing out IDs and passports, which are needed for voter registration. Clem Maguchi says, Anna Masana Ngurumbaiwa, it's a tactic for the young people not to register to vote. Exactly, Clem. That is so true. Moving on, Leader Estela, can I ask you to take us through the demolitions that were happening in Tungamirai and Harare?
Leader Sophia, before we go to demolitions, Chief Soshe said something about the women and the voter registration. Can I maybe just shed some light what's happening in the Assembly of Women?
Yes, please go ahead, Leader Barbara. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. As for, he was speaking to the 1 million campaign for the youth. We are also doing our own campaign. We are also campaigning for 1 million votes for women and girls. So our campaign is dubbed Gogogoi Kogi Nyekaya. Gogogoi Amai kana kuti Kogi Nyekaya. We said Gogogoi Amai because we know kuti mushamukadzi. Kana tikasvika pamusha tikati gogogoi, munhu anotanga kuuya ndimai. Mai ndivo vanotaura nevaenzi, ndivo vanobikira vaenzi. So tiri kuita this campaign takatarisa kumaruzevha, ndosaka tati gogogoi. So the name or maybe the campaign itself, it has been adopted. Maengehama was just telling me today kuti our proposal was adopted in the standing committee. So you are going to see a lot from the women's assembly about this voter registration. Remember, last time we had Mo Nemuria, we also had my youth anga ine bereka mwana. So we to this year we also, they've got their 1 million campaign. Isusu tiri kuti gogogoi amai kana kuti kogi nyekai. So it's gonna be a very busy time, and I would like to concur with Chief Sosha, who is saying the diasporans, our role is to support these activities back home. We all want to go back to Zimbabwe, right? So we are supposed to help them financially. The registration, the challenges that most of the people are facing is transport, because like in Bulawayo, take for instance Bulawayo, where I come from. Right now, there's only one registration place, which is in Famona. And Famona, the people who live in the western suburbs, they have to take 2 combis to Famona. So it's not even dollar, Chief. It's $2. So imagine kuti someone who doesn't have food on his table. Do you think that person can take $2 just to go and register to vote? We have to conscientize fully the people, the advantages of registering to vote and the advantages of voting, because they bring us results that will make us all tinoguta tese, unlike kuti uruda kuguta nhasi badzi mangwana ke. So if we have free and fair elections, people vote in their numbers, like Chief said, it will be very difficult for ZANU-PF to rig. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You make a fine point there, Leader Barbara, that if we register to vote and if we vote in our numbers, it will be very hard to rig. Robert Chinama says, what about those who register for the last time elections? Are we going to register again, or it's fine because some of the people are no longer having their registration slips? If you have registered to vote and you have voted before in the last elections, you do not need to re-register. What you need to do is you need to check your name and your details on the voters roll. And for you to be able to do this, you can phone the free phone number 0808-0219 to find out where your nearest voter registration center is, and they'll give you the requirements and whatever else is needed for you to register, and also to check that your name is on the voters roll. So that number again, it's a free phone number.
Repeat the number.
0808-0219. 0808-0219.
And there's also a website.
Sorry?
There's also a website. I think, Leo, can you please look for the website and pin it? I think that one is the quickest. You can use the website. You type in your name, you type in your ID number, and then all your details will just come out just like that.
Acme, can we just correct the number on the banner? It's actually 0808-0219. It's 8 figures. 0808-0219. Right. Can we just take a short break while we're watching a video, and after that we have a guest who will be talking to us about voter registration. We'll have a short break, a short video that we'll be showing.
Kanzo haina kutipa notice yenzvimbo ino, asi nyaya yakangoitika ndekuti kanzo yakatouya ndokungotanga kubata mavhenda angari matebhuru first day, following day zvekuma10 ndobva wauya wakangosvika kune zvikuita kwakutongotanga kupinda mumashopu pasina notice, pasina kana tsamba zvainongotaura kana even kupinda nemuromo kuti tichauya kukupisai, hawana kana kupinda wataura izvozvo. But nyaya yakangoitika ndeyekuti iwo zvawaita waitoti wakasvika pashopu pako wototi tatouya kana uda kuti ubuditse zvinhu zvako tipe 10 years ukwanisa kubuditsa zvinhu zvako mushopu kuti tisatora. Vanhu vazhinji vakarusa maproperties avo, grocery, kunotengesa maselfoni. Handina mafoni andakabuda nawo nokuti chigireda chakatopwanya. Rimwe dhoo rangu rereshopu yemaselfoni rakachavhagwa. Nguva yandakazotanga kufunga maselfoni vanhu vakabva vatanga kunoita mafoni ndobvaika. Saka pari zvino ukada kuti asazvakaita munhu akatosvikirwa ndiweredha, aitoweredha munhu yeye haana kana chinhu chaakakwanisa kutora.
Food link yaive restaurant. At first vakauya vachiti zvoni tunoisa mapaipi emvura eFidelity. It was a big restaurant kusvika uku. Then tikabva tamuvha tikauya kushed ndobva vaisa mapaipi emvura. After 2 weeks ndobva vadzoka without any notice, ndobva vatopwanya nezvinhu zviri mukati everything. So hatisi kuziva kuti what's going on.
This is very, very sad and very, very unfortunate. The majority of the citizens in the country are people who are now self-employed, who have had to come up with innovative ways to make a living and to have school fees for the children, to have the next meal on the table. And we have seen this happening one too many times, where people's sources of livelihood is destroyed and demolished like that. You can almost see the resignation, the giving up on these faces as we're talking to them. Leader Estella, if you could take us through the demolitions in Harare and Tungamirai, and also the effect on the children dropping out of school because of the COVID-19 poverty and these demolitions.
Yes, thank you, Leader Sophie. As we witnessed in the video that was airing during the short break that we took, the City Council apparently has been demolishing what they have termed illegal structures in Chitungwiza, in Queensdale, and in several other places in Harare. something which is really devastating, as we witnessed on the faces of the entrepreneurs whose property was destroyed without warning. And most of them are saying that they have been paying to the city council to be able to set up those structures and to run whatever form of business they were running in those structures. And they were quite surprised to find the city council showing up without warning, and demanding that they pay 10 US dollars just to be able to salvage any property they have inside there, to to get their property out of those structures before they are destroyed. There is another video I watched where people were actually furnishing the receipts that they had, showing that, we are not here illegally. The city council gave us the permission to do this. This is my last payment, which I made. One lady had a receipt from 2 June, which is a few less than 2 weeks ago. She paid, and the city council accepted the payment. And yet they are now coming in to destroy these structures, claiming that they are illegal structures. Something which is quite heartbreaking to witness, because as you pointed out, there is very little forms of employment in Zimbabwe at the moment, and that is all the work of ZANU PF. They're the ones who took over companies, mines, farms, and failed to run them. And many of those companies ended up closing, and a lot of people lost their forms of employment that way. So, and then they have not done anything to try and create new employment for these people who lost their jobs and other new coming, job seekers. And so they really left people no choice but to try and, in different ways find a way to earn a living. But then now when people start trying in different ways to earn a living, they come in and they destroy those structures. And it really beats the mind to try to understand what are they expecting people to do in these times, where due to COVID-19, as you pointed out, things have been much tougher than ever before. And this has resulted in many children dropping out of school because parents don't have the kind of money that is being asked for at schools. And even recently there were parents complaining about exams, that they don't have the money to pay for their children's O-level and A-level exams, which the government was demanding. And it's just heartbreaking to see a government that does not understand the needs of the people, or rather that does not care about the needs of the people. You can see at the forefront of their minds is just making a few bucks to put in their pockets. They are demanding 10 US dollars to get your stuff out of the illegal structures before they destroy them. That's what's on their minds. The little money that they can make from these people, before destroying those structures. And it's one of the very, very important reasons why everybody should register to vote. That these people who are in power, they don't have our interests at heart at all. They don't care. They are just looking out for their own pockets. And as long as we keep them there, they are going to continue to do this. They are not going to suddenly have a change of heart and decide to start to, take care of the citizens. So the only solution that is left to us as citizens is to all of us come together, unite, register to vote, and make sure that we actually do vote. And then after that, be ready to defend our vote, because these people are not going to, hand over power to us just like that. Even if we come out in our numbers and we vote, they will still rig. They will still, they don't have any shame. We have seen the extents they can go to just to hang on to power. And so I feel like this is our last chance to, stand up to this government before that opportunity, that window of opportunity just completely closes. Then maybe we'll become a fully militarized nation where, maybe even elections can be abolished from then on. This is our very last chance to stand up to them. We all go out in our numbers, we vote, and then we stand and defend our vote on the day of the, announcement of elections. uh yeah, that's all I have, Leader Sophie. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Leader Estella. You are quite right. There seems to be something in the air, like what Chief was saying, that there seems to be a chain reaction that is happening, and people are being conscientized, and people want to get involved and do something and make a difference. In the demolitions as well, the police station at Mbudzi roundabout was about to be demolished because the vendors were saying, look, this police station was set up because we were here and we asked for it. Why is it being allowed to stay, and yet our businesses are being demolished? So you get people asking questions that they would not have normally asked before in the past. And you're quite right that people are actually, being conscientized and wanting to do something about it. We have Martin Murapa who says, hurumende haina basa nevanhu. Mutungamiriri achiona zvake nenguva yake yeCovid-19 iyoyo, vanhu ngavasadaro chokwadi. Mabasa hakuna, saka ari kutongei president uyu kutonga nedemo. These are the questions that citizens are asking daily, and the numbers are increasing. There are more questions that are coming out like that. Chief, I don't know, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, this is a very painful development, and we are fully aware that this is a ploy by ZANU-PF to try and make the people of Zimbabwe believe that these demolitions are being done or ordered by MDC alliance councils. That's not true. This is being done at the highest level of the Ministry of Local Government, which is by the minister himself. He is the one who coordinates with the town planners, town councillors, and other government staff. A lot of people don't know that at councils there are a lot of government employees, who are appointed by the government that have nothing to do with the councils, that have nothing to do with the MDC alliance. And those are the people that are calling the shots. Those are the people that are ordering these demolitions. And ZANU-PF is doing it deliberately so that MDC alliance is blamed, so that the people in urban areas blame the MDC alliance. But the good thing is the MDC alliance is done very well in terms of giving people information, in terms of explaining the situation, that it is not the MDC alliance that is ordering these demolitions. The MDC alliance is a part of the people, by the people. It will never take away people's livelihood willy-nilly like that, the way ZANU-PF is doing. It's so painful, Leader Sophia, that someone builds a house and that house is just demolished. Someone has built his business, Kumbudzi, or he's selling his cars along the road somewhere in Harare, and they're earning a living through that. And then the government just decides, wakes up tomorrow morning and does politics. It's politics. It has nothing to do with what is going on in Harare. It has nothing to do with keeping Harare clean. It's something that is being done just to tarnish the image of Zimbabweans, of the MDC alliance. But what makes me angry is the ordinary people, the people who are working so hard to try and make a living in Zimbabwe, are being made pawns in that in that political battle. If the government of Zimbabwe is a government of the people, by the people, they should not do that. They should think about the people first than to target Zimbabweans in this cold weather in June and July. And that's what they always do. They wait for June and July, and then they do their Mramba China, you know. So the people of Zimbabwe should know that it is ZANU-PF, it is the government of Zimbabwe. If there are any few councillors that are involved in this, if there are any few councillors that are corrupt, that are collaborating with ZANU-PF, you know, then they should be rooted out. We call upon President Chamisa, we call upon the leadership of the MDC Alliance to root out those corrupt councillors. They need to go because these are livelihoods. Upenyu hwevanhu kutamba nawo. Vanhu vari kurarama nekutengesa. Vanhu vari kurarama nekutengesa mota idzodzo. Vanhu vanenge vatsvaga kuti vazokwanisa kunovaka dzimba dzavanovaka kuya dzaunoona dzichipazwa. Inini I'm totally against that, and that needs to stop. Whether it's ZANU-PF and it's those few rotten councillors within ourselves, they need to be rooted out. They need to go. It makes me mad.
Absolutely, Chief. You're very justified in that. There actually have been reports of grown men who had, you know, maybe gotten retrenched or maybe, you know, gotten a little bit of money, started a business, maybe build a house, you know, just to get their children, to put a roof over their children. And then they had their businesses and houses demolished. And a couple that I know who were actually affected, you know, committed suicide because people cannot take it anymore. Like Leader rightly expressed in the beginning that people have taken so much in Zimbabwe. We have been through beating after beating after beating. And, you know, people are getting to the point where either, you know, it's adrenaline, it's fight or flight. So people are at that point where either they are risking everything to say, look, we're going to fight. And then you also get the other population, the side that is also giving up, as in the couple that, you know, just say, look, there's nothing more they can do and nothing more to live, which is very unfortunate. And it does make one very, very sad and angry. Leader Barbara, if you can just take us through maybe the second last story for the day, which is the Maengehama colliery mine commemorations from the Maengehama disaster in 1972. Leader Stella, maybe if you are still with us, can you just help us there and catch that for us? The Maengehama mine disaster, the Maengehama colliery disaster commemorations. Okay, I think we might be having a network problem there. We have the Maengehama mine colliery, which disaster which happened on the 6th of June 1972. And it's 49 years now since the disaster happened. So there were commemorations that were held over the past week. But the widows and the children of the late miners who lost their lives during that disaster due to a methane gas explosion were coming out and saying the only time that they remembered is when there are these commemorations. No one has turned back to look at them. And many of them now are old and sick. And this is when they need their assistance. But they were actually saying that the only time they're remembered is whenever there's this one day of the commemorations and no one turns back to look after them to see what is going on. So they were calling on the government and also on Maengehama Colliery, the colliery company, just to look at them, to help them with their livelihoods, and more so especially with their medical bills, because a lot of them are now old, they are now sick, and it is not a good thing, they were saying, and it actually is not a good thing that we only remember them only the time of the day of the disaster, but we should be remembering them and actually seeing that they're well taken care of during the year and throughout. Henry Musikavanu says, Chairman AU, Pamwe Chetene Sadek. That's Henry Musikavanu there. And finally, the COVID-19. Leader Estella, are you still with us? If you can take us through the COVID-19 numbers that are increasing and the lockdown measures that are back. Leader Estelle, are you with us? Chief, can you help us out for a bit with the COVID-19 numbers that are increasing?
I don't have the numbers, the statistics at hand, but what I'm aware of is that the number of people that are being affected or infected are increasing, gradually every day. And what I also know that the numbers that we are seeing on paper that are on the official website of the COVID-19 initiative are not the correct representation of what is going on in Zimbabwe. We have a government that goes to sleep every time they think the COVID-19 is gone. They relax and they start abusing the funds that they are getting from the EU, that they're getting from the World Health Organization, that they're getting from America, that they're getting from the United Kingdom, the very countries that they accuse of imposing sanctions on them. Those are the funds that have been making Zimbabwe survive, go through this difficult period. But the unfortunate thing is we have a government that loots those resources, and thinking that COVID-19 is gone. They eat today and they forget about tomorrow. And that is exactly what is happening. The Indian strain that is there, the new COVID-19 strain, has hit South Africa, and it's said to be in Zimbabwe. It started in Kwekwe, and now it's spreading around. But all our government is good at, they're very good at, is imposing these lockdowns, coming up with these lockdowns that are not supported by anything, that are not supported by the government. The people are just told to remain in the house. They're not given anything. They're not given any form of support. They copycat that part of the strategy from what is going on in South Africa. But the difference between the Zimbabwean government and the South African government is that the South African government does give bailouts to its people. It gives social support to the people of South Africa. Our government doesn't do that. The money is there. The money is coming from the World Health Organization. We have done a lot of programs here on ZimI and Change Radio where we have articulated the amounts, the millions of dollars that are coming from the World Health Organization. Any country, every country that is affected by COVID-19 is privy to these donations, is given these donations. But in Zimbabwe, those donations are not being put to good use. They're not trickling down to the people of Zimbabwe. And that's why the numbers keep going up and there's no contact tracing. We could have arrested this situation when it broke out in Kwekwe, but all Chiwenga did was to impose a lockdown, but they did not do anything scientific. There was no contact tracing. We didn't know who was in contact with who, where did they go, and what was done by the government or the Ministry of Health to arrest the situation at that early stage. So we need the so-called government of Zimbabwe to step up and start using the funds that they are getting from donors, from well-wishers, to good use, so that it helps the people of Zimbabwe. Otherwise, more Zimbabweans will perish. As it is, Zimbabweans are perishing. We just don't know it. It's just not being reported. But a lot of people are dying. A lot of people have died of COVID-19, and the government has been underreporting those numbers, and it's very unfortunate. And that should just give an insight to what the people should do going forward. We can't keep on remaining or voting a government that is so intolerant to the needs of the people. We can't. We know that ZANU-PF doesn't win in elections, but we also are alive to the situation that there are hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans that are still voting for ZANU-PF. And this is just an awareness saying that we need to stop doing that. Zimbabweans need to come up. They need to, open their eyes and see what is happening. ZANU-PF is getting donations for COVID-19, but they are not using them to the people. Vana veZimbabwe vanofanira kuzviziva izvozvo kuti hurumende yavo iri kupiwa mari nevanhu asi havasi kuisvitsa kuvanhu. Haisi kushandiswa mabasa inofanira kunge ichishandiswa mari yese iri kudyiwa nevanhu vari kumusoro ikoko. Ndosaka muri kuona ana hopo ching'ono vachipenga vachivava vachitaura nyaya iyoyo yekuti corruption ndiyo yatiri kutaura iyoyo yekuti madonations ari kupinda muZimbabwe, hurumende iri kupiwa mari asi vari kudya mari kunge mushonga yemusana vachitadza kupa vanhu kuti vararame zvakanaka vagadzirise nyaya yeCovid-19. Saka izvozvo ndozvinofanira kuti tese tiende kunorejista kuvhota, tibvise chihurumende ichocho, tiite zvatinokwanisa kuita come 2023 so that we get rid of this animal called ZANU-PF.
Absolutely, Chief. Thank you so much. Indeed, the power is in and everyone's hands to make a difference, go and register and vote and make a difference. Zimbabwe and all over the world, we want to thank you so much for having joined us today in our program. Thank you for listening to us on Change Radio. Thank you for being with us on Lighthouse News Zimbabwe. Thank you for being with us on ZimEye. We appreciate your listenership and your viewership. We thank you and we wish you a wonderful week ahead. Until next week, from myself, Sophia Tekwani, Chief Social Leader Estella and Leader Barbara, we want to thank you, and from those behind the scenes as well, we want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Food link yaive restaurant. At first vakauya vachiti zvoni todaisa mapaipi emvura eFidelity. It was a big restaurant kusvika uku. Then tikabva tamuva tikauya kushed ndobva vaisa mapaipi emvura. After 2 weeks ndobva vadzoka without any notice, ndobva vatopanya nezvinhu zviri mukati everything. So hatisi kuziva kuti what's going on.
Achanga achivhota 2023 tisafa takatarisire ZANU-PF ichiti by 2023 after my election ndichakuitirai zvakati nezvakati nezvakati. Chigaro zivai kutoti yatonyepa ipapo. Zvakafanana nekuti iwe musikana ukandida ndakuroora ndogara newe ndaane vana ndichazokuitira zvakati kosi ndaane vana. Saka ZANU-PF haifaniri kuti ndichakuitirai zvakati, inofanira kuti itoita. Ndicharimemba Muzenda achapona wakasvike kuchipinge kwedu, wakabva asvike pachikoro chimwe chozi Mdanda Primary School, wakabva atora mapole emagesi obva amadonhedza ipapo. Mapole emagesi anokwana kuti about 200. Akandiroda kuunze magesi pamundanda kuno nepachikoro pana ndokunza magesi, vanhu vakafara vakamuvhotera ZANU-PF ikawina. Nazvino matanda emagetsi yo mapole iwa achipo izvezvi. ZANU-PF yakafana house girl anonyepera mwana wabasi kuti wadya chikafu asina kudya, anotora chikafu chacho yodya, otora porridge obva azoza muromo wemwana kuti mwana wadya waguta.